I talked about how high school football is kind of the last line of amateurism when it comes to athletics, and that's the reason why we all love it because there is that familiarity. But I can sense that there are people in the listening audience that are like, "Whoa, hold on, not too fast," because there is some level of that in the high school ranks. Now, I think about the one thing that was inserted in the NCAA that kind of, I wouldn't say infected high school athletics, but has certainly bled down into high school athletics, and School of Choice has obviously made this possible in the state of Michigan, and that is the high school transfer portal. Now, when I look at this next team in Comstock Park, they've lost some of their best options offensively to that portal. They went to Grand Rapids Catholic Central, and the last decade for Comstock Park has been one that is, again, it has been really, really hard for CP. It's just been really tough to establish any level of consistency when it comes to winning. And again, I'm going to date myself again, but going back pre 2016, which ironically was the time when I was in high school, Comstock Park was good. There was a level of consistency there. They were competing with West Catholic, the school that I went to. They were competing with Zeeland West. But there's a little glimmer of hope with CP this year because they've done pretty good in all the things leading up to the season, including you talked about in here the 7-on-7 tournament that they finished first in. What is the silver lining when it comes to Comstock Park this year?
I think you got to get above 500. I think that's your goal this year. I mean, 2 wins last year, but that Hope College tournament that a lot of local schools compete in, it's a 7-on-7 football tournament. They place first in that. Now you're playing down, was that four or less guys than normal? So take that with a grain of salt, but you also got to look at it. Well, you've got pieces of the offensive line there, pieces of the defensive line, and you're going to probably have your best key players out there as your quarterback, as your running back, as your receivers. So that's a fun aspect of it to think about. That's got to give you a ton of hope, especially going into camp starting here next week, right? So, this is a team that I think could probably get back to 500, if not at least above it. And yeah, they only have one non-conference game. That's Berrien Springs. Otherwise, they're going right into the fire, and you don't have very many tune-up games with a conference as strong as this one.
Another team that is big, they're tough, they're physical, and they're gritty. The country boys, they just build them differently. Like I don't know what they eat out there necessarily, but this is a team that always has big defensive and offensive lines. They're physical, they can establish the line. They've just been missing, I guess, a little bit of that offensive explosiveness that can push this program over the top because they've won a lot of football games, 5-4 overall in the regular season last year before losing to Kalamazoo Hackett in the first round of the postseason. This is a team that, a lot of questions about where could they go. Well, they get one of their best players back on the offensive and defensive lines. This is a team that loves to run the football. What is Hopkins missing, or what should we be excited about when it comes to Hopkins here this season?
I mean, maybe a little bit more defense, maybe just a titch more offense. I mean, you got that senior Cameron DeHaan, who was an all-region defensive lineman last year, being the standout player on this entire team. So, you got your defense locked down. You got your captain of the defense right there. Now this offense has just got to step up a little bit, right? They haven't. Their last state championship appearance was in 2002. They're looking for their first district championship since 2008. And this is a team last year that lost by 8 to a Kelloggsville team, which was a team that broke out last year. They lost by 10 to a good Godwin Heights team, and they lost by 1 to Belding. That was an 8-7 loss. That's just one of those, both teams could score early on. One team's just trying to do a 2-point conversion, right? And then you don't sniff the end zone ever again, right? And they lost by 2 possessions to a very good Reed City team. So this is a team that, once again, they're right there on the verge. They can take care of the football. They can, especially in those big games. That's probably the most important thing, is taking care of the football. I think they might squeak out a couple more wins than they did last year.